In this health and wellness world, everyone is focusing on educating people what to eat, how to sleep, what to do, but not on how to truly understand what humans need to change their life. Really understand the human underneath the behavior. The best employee assistant programs, to my understanding, is to really learn how human brain works and know how to change life. When people will get well, become more effective and productive in both their personal and career life. Many times we are up against the intellectual programming here and what people really truly want. You see, when we were born and raised to develop our intellect world and ignore our awareness. In other words, in this intellectual world, we have enough knowledge, enough information. And to change a person's life, we need to fully understand how to change, how to actually change it, and really know who they are. The feedback I get from many of my clients over the years are that the therapy sessions with a counselor or a psychologist are never ending. And they eventually actually believe they are sick and they need therapy on a constant basis. And they even have a perspective. They see themselves as a victim instead of a victor, taking responsibility of their life and taking their own power back to control their life. Or some therapists are inexperienced and thus providing quick fix that only work for short term. So what works to really change a human life? I'm going to give you a brief information on what actually needs to happen in order to foundationally change human life. So what must be happen to a human life in order to change is that there must be a neurological shift. There must be a shift in our neurology, in the chemicals in the body, in the way that we embody the lesson that influence our life. For a lot of us, it is so unconscious influence or control our life at a deeper neurological level. If we want to change a life, we cannot just go to the fruits of the tree. However, that is almost everybody is doing. So imagine we have a tree. The roots are in the soil. The fruits that's hanging on the tree are the fruits, is what we see, is the behavior, is the result of that human life. And there is the tree on the ground, and it got the trunks, the branches, the leaf, and the fruits. Many people say, I don't like the red apples. I don't like the fruits on the tree. So I'm going to change the fruits. That is an external, outside in, top down approach. That seems to be the quickest way to do it. Just change the fruits. Therefore, this is what I have seen as an occupational health nurse for over 20 years in either workplace health and wellness program, employee assistance program in the industry, personal development are searching for. They're looking for the quick fix. And they end up a bunch of pain. You just paint the red apple to be green, to be orange. Oh, here is the green paint. Just go and paint it green so it will turn into a green apple. Oh, this is an orange paint. Go and paint it so it will turn into an orange. It could be a very beautiful orange, but it is a rotten apple inside. But when you paint it orange, when you paint it green, it looks like you have a green tree, you have an orange tree. But that is so short term. We need to know that what will not create a long-lasting change. That will not create a long-lasting change. And that is what I see in many people in this industry for over 20 years. They went and see a counselor for 6 months. And then after 6 months, now what? They say, I'm better. But a few months later, they collapse back. They have a relapse. And so they have to be constantly on therapy for the rest of their life. That's dependent. Depending on other people. It is good for short term that when you need to get help. But on the long term, you need to take the power back. You need to go under the roots, into the roots, and see what is really driving you. What is really driving your life? I once have a nurse who got divorced 6 years ago. And then I met her 6 years later. She was saying that I have been psychologist hopping. So over the last 6 years, she was hopping from psychologist to psychologist because she always think that she needs someone. When she said that I outgrow from that psychologist, I need another psychologist. That is the dependent attachment. And I also have a nurse who came to me. She would become a very good storytelling, telling me everything that was wrong in her life. She spent 2 hours telling me everything that is wrong from her childhood to right now. And then after that 2 hours, my conclusion is, wow, you get so good telling me everything that did not go well in your life. And that doesn't serve you no more. We are here to go for the future. And then I still remember she said, oh my God. She said, I feel so good now, because she said that I become so good as a storyteller, telling a psychologist, a counselor how bad my life is. And the psychologist say that, wow, you have a great awareness. And that was it for our session. You do not need to see a psychologist no more. And at that time, she thought, oh my God, my life is over. I don't know what to do. I feel stuck, and psychologists don't even have an answer for me. When I saw her, I say, you know what? This is just step 0. This is just the beginning. I'm going to bring you where you are to where you want to go. We're going to heal the trauma. We're going back to the childhood trauma. We're going to heal the little child inside you. Reframe the event so you can go and create a better tomorrow. So what needs to happen is a change in the roots, not just a change in the fruits, not just a change in what we can see. Let's change what produces the fruit so it can be long lasting. So another analog for me to explain for simplicity, I would say we have 2 entities at place, the head and the heart. There are 2 different teams. And they are distinct. What the heads want, or we call it conscious mind, is different than what the heart wants. The heart wants, or we call it intuition. Some people call the unconscious mind the soul one. They are not the same. They can be aligned, but they are not. For most people, the head are in constant conflict with the heart, meaning what the heart wants, the head wants something different. Or the head is trying to protect the heart from being hurt, from which the heart doesn't really care about. The heart just cares about what they truly desire. What do you really, really want? And you know what? To my surprise, if I ask hungry people, what do you really, really want? 99% always say, I never asked that question, including me 10 years ago, until my coach come to me and say, see, what do you really, really want? Not what your mom wants, not what the society wants from you, not what your husband wants, not what your children want from you. It's what do you really, really want? It takes me 24 hours to really keep asking myself, what do I really want, to come up with what I really want for my life. For example, most of our intellect commitments are around avoiding failure, avoiding rejection, avoiding loss of money, loss of time, loss of relationship. The heart doesn't care any of those. They don't. The hearts want to live a good life, a meaningful, fulfillment life. The heart wants experience. The hearts want emotional depth. But the head is afraid. It's always afraid of, because that's where all the fear, anxiety, and all of those stuff are associated to. So most people have 2 entities in conflict, the head and the heart. The heart is whatever below, the head is whatever above. So what most people dealing with is having circumstances, observable behaviors. Many people experiencing is what they want to change up here, but they don't want to change down here. They just want to change outside. They don't want to change inside. But down here, just like the roots of a tree, the down here is what produce up here. It's what produce our result in the world. We really need to get this right. So if you don't change what produce up here, you are just painting the rotten apples. It's just a short-term change. Because down here is what produce the apple. Also, even if you make surface level change, the roots in the bottom will just keep producing what they produced in the past. So people are just making surface level shortcut changes and are always constantly in conflict with the roots that continue to grow and continue to change them back to what the roots are designed to produce. So the person is in constant conflict with themselves. So we are focusing on the behavior versus the behavior. Most therapists are focusing on changing behavior because that's what most people want, but not understand what is underneath the behavior is what causes so many people to get so frustrated. Because even if you change the behavior and not understand what produced the behavior, you're not making a long-lasting change. So this is at this point of the work that most people will check out because it sounds too hard. They get afraid. They don't want to do the hard work. We will motivate towards pleasure and run away from pain. It is our biological DNA. But that is actually not a shortcut. That is actually a longer process. For the mind, it often just wants to know what's the next thing in front of me? What's the urgency that I need to focus on? Because urgency is what we need to concern right now. Do I need to eat? Am I safe? Am I in danger? If we live our life based on urgency and immediacy, then nothing is going to last long. And this is one of the reasons why we see so many people relapse. For 20 years as an occupational health nurse, I see so many people relapse. They recover from the PTSD, and then in a few years, they collapse back. People recover from the addiction, and then in a few days, in a few weeks, they collapse back. Why? Because we did not go into the roots to really look at what is producing the behavior. We need to understanding the behavior. And that 14 ingredients will help you understand a person and what cultivate the person to make a long-lasting change. In my belief, all therapists needs to do that, including coaches. This is what the industry has been doing for many, many years. They are doing shortcuts, and people nowadays are so bombarded with these shortcuts because they're not long-lasting changes. And that's why we see the failure in EAP program. To make any long-lasting health and wellness in a person, we have to implement the foundation of a long-lasting healing, health and wellness culture in the organization. Over the years, people have been bombarded with this surface level stuff and has been so disappointed again and again. And now they're ready to go for the reality. They demand the reality. They demand the long-lasting change. Organizations and people have spent a lot of time, a lot of money into these disappointments. And now they say no more. And people are really ready to want to do a different work to change and heal their life. Because questions that we ask is, are you suffering enough? Are you suffering enough? Do you want to live your life trying to cope with stress, trying to manage your fatigue, trying to be feeling exhausted all the time, not happy all the time, depressed all the time. And this is the solution. This is the solution. Our mind, our head, our intellect is primarily concerning with avoiding rejection, failure. And all the dangers are out there. All the panic and anxiety are in our mind. And we live a life according to that head entity, meaning your mind and your head are driving the car. They're making all the decision. They're fueling the car. The whole thing that you're focusing on is being driven by your mind and your head. It is very unstable. So that's why a lot of people say, I feel shaky in my stomach, in my gut. And that is a sign to tell me that you have been living in your head. And that including me too 5 years ago. I've been telling people that I don't know why. On the surface, I look like I have a good retirement plan. I have a good job. I have the money. It all looks good. But inside, in my gut, I feel unstable. Because all this year, I was trained to live in my head. I'll go with what my head say. I'll make decisions based on my head. And it is very shallow. It does a good job to protect us, to perceive the immediate danger. But it does a horrible job for creating a healthy, fulfilling, and meaningful life. And to heal your trauma. If we put all our energy and resources into our intellect, into our head, when life gets tough, when life becomes uncertain, your intellect will explode. Or if you pack all your confidence, trust, certainty in this, they will be the first to go when you encounter danger. And that's why so many people right now are struggling because they put too much trust in the entity that cannot be trusted with uncertainty. And we're living in the world with a lot of uncertainty nowadays. Economy, the war, the scarcity, the pollutions, the climate changes, everything. We have all this stress around us. And that's why so many people are struggling because they put too much trust in the entity that cannot be trusted with uncertainty. It was built, the whole existence, on the idea of certainty, and that we can predict, and so therefore we can be prepared. I want to show you in this image of how things grow in a seed, the evolutions of the seed, which I show you before. We plant the seed grow. They are in the soil. We water the seed. We know that below the seed is a bunch of roots. The idea is the majority of the things that we see and we focus is above. What we need to focus is below. Whatever is on top is just what we can see. But we have to go deep into the roots to see what actually produced the tree, what actually produced the fruits. This is the concept of why we need to understand the brain. Because if we don't understand the brain, how do we help anybody change their life? If we don't understand the thing that is in charge, how do we change a life? We have been programmed by our thinking that we can just change the way we see the world. We could just get motivated, use our short-term motivation to change our life. It's just not the way it works. It's not working. And that's why you hear so many people say, I keep pushing and pushing and pushing to the point that I just collapse. I feel so exhausted. I'm starting having this chronic illness because if you don't say no, your body will say no for you. It is about understanding the seed of the behavior work. So above the ground, you can see the little seed sprout into these little plants. Above the ground is that we see our behaviors, our circumstances, everything around us, the goal that we want to achieve. But below the ground is what creates all these things. We as humans communicate with languages. So a lot of time we use languages trying to change what's above the surface. But there is a much more deeper internal language that is going on. And it is the internal language that matters the most. It is the internal language that will determine not just how we talk about the external stuff, but actually determine the external stuff and this internal language of the body and of the heart, the soul, or the spirit, or just the inside of a human being is what matters the most. Over the last 5-6 years, I really pay attention to what people talk, how they express themselves, and what did they say. By listening to the words, you are able to understand where they're coming from. And if they're critical to other people, you can imagine that they can be so critical to themselves. And many times we are so critical to ourselves. So the first thing to change is to watch your language. What kind of words do you use? Many people say, I don't want to be broke. So why don't you say, I want to be rich? Many people say, oh, I don't want to feel sad again. Why don't you say, I want to have joy, abundance, freedom? So there are actually 14 ingredients that need to be identified over the course of doing coaching over the last 18 years by Sean Smith in neurotransformational coaching. And that I have learned from him. And he has observed from coaching his clients over the years. And I have also observed using these 14 ingredients in coaching my clients to make a long-lasting changes. If you want to learn more about this, connect with me. If you want to know to how really we can solve the underlying issue of chronic illness, mental illness, a long-lasting change in a life, or even to have abundance in your life, to have freedom in your life, to do whatever you want to do, to go wherever you want to go, to give whatever you want to give, to have a healthy, vibrant, robust, feeling good in your own skin, connect with me. Or even to have a deep, loving, compassion soulmate, connect with me now. I'll see you in my next video.